I saw a question from somebody on the YouTube channel who spoke about the visiting form in the Federal Bureau of Prisons, that he wanted to see an example of how it works out. So I'll make this simple video to show you where to go to get that information. One of the places that you're going to want to see is this particular program statement that is available on the BOP's website, and you can see it right there. It's program statement 5267.09. That describes the visiting system in the Bureau of Prisons. It's a rather long policy statement of 20 pages, but the Bureau of Prisons is really governed by these types of policy statements. And if you understand these policy statements, you're in a better position to self-advocate and work towards the best outcome. Of course, the Bureau of Prisons is in a very different stage from when I was serving my sentence. When I was serving my sentence, they didn't have the huge staffing problem that they have right now. And so a lot of times what your people are finding is that they will remove staff that may be supposed to be in the visiting room to work in custody, and so they'll lower the number of opportunities for people to visit. That has been a trend over the past several years. I hope it doesn't happen to you. You also have to know that you've got to be on somebody's visiting form, and you can see the visiting form right here as an example. So it's available on our website as a template. That said, it's not always possible to just download this template. Sometimes you'll deal with a staff member who is very, really wants to be in control, and so they'll only want their personal visiting form to be used. And it's important to understand that, because you can go through the challenge of sending the visiting form into the institution, but the counselor may not accept it, and you won't know. And so you think that you're approved to go visit, but they will, once you get there, they'll say you're not on the list, and so you can't visit. But if you want to practice on it, what you have to remember is that when your visitor is filling this out, they don't send it to the person serving time. They actually have to send it to the counselor that is assigned to the specific unit. And they would just type in here the institution. So let's say somebody is at USP Atwater. They would put USP Atwater there. They would put the date. They would put the name and the registration number of the person in this block right here at the top right beneath my picture there in the round circle. Then they would write, "Dear Counselor," okay? And then you just start filling in these numbers, right? What is your legal name? And number 1. Doc 2, what is your birth date? 3, what is your address? And you want to use the address that is likely going to exist inside of a government database, because that's what they're going to check. Then you're going to want to insert your information here, your telephone number, your race, and the gender of the visitor. These are really not forms that they update very often, so it's not always using the same language of today. This is the same visiting form that existed when I was in prison, and it's what you could download for the Bureau of Prisons website. Are you a U.S. citizen? Yes. What's super important is that you never lie on this form, because if they catch you in a lie, they will block you from visiting. So it doesn't, if you've been convicted of a crime, you want to write that you have been convicted of a crime. That doesn't necessarily block you, as long as you are done with the criminal justice system. You can visit. So you want to write your relationship. There is a weird rule in prison that says if you didn't know this person prior to incarceration, you cannot visit them. But the only one that's going to know if you knew them or not is you. I mean, I'll give you a funny story about that after this. But number 10, if the answer is yes, indicate the length of time you have known this person and where the relationship developed. Have you ever been convicted of a crime? That number 11 is super important, because if you've been convicted of crime, it will exist in their government database, and you don't want to have lied on this form. Not only is it a federal crime to lie on a form, but I don't think it's likely they would prosecute you, but I do think it's likely they'll block you from visiting. And that's why that next question is, are you currently on probation, parole? Do you correspond with other people? They're very concerned about that, because they want to avoid the possibility of passing messages between institutions. Remember, everything in prison is about the security of the institution. So the more you know about these rules and so on and so forth, the better off you're going to be. Particularly people in prison really need to know the rules. It's one of the reasons we really urge people to read the Code of Federal Regulations before they go in and read what's called the handbook for every institution. They're all basically the same, and they're all predicated on the Code of Federal Regulations. But the person on the YouTube video asked me to kind of give a demonstration of how to fill out the visiting form. Once you fill out the visiting form, you want to send it to the counselor of the individual. But the appropriate process is for the guy in prison to ask the counselor for a visiting form. That person sends it to you in the mail. You then fill it out and you send it to the counselor. That's a big problem that a lot of people make, is they send it to their loved one in prison and thinking the prison is going to be able to give it to the counselor, but they won't accept it that way. The process generally takes a couple of weeks. In the policy statement itself, I think I could actually see if I could share that with you and find it. Let me go to the actual website here and go to bop.gov. If I go to bop.gov and I go to a specific institution, let's take Coleman. Coleman 1 is fine. And you scroll down there to the bottom, say how to visit. Let's look for visiting here on this. There should be something on here for visiting. How to visit, visiting schedule and procedures, right? So visiting overview, you click that right there and it'll tell you something, it'll talk about all this stuff about the process of visiting. Let me see if I can make that a little better for you to see there, but you can visit this on the website itself, on the Bureau of Prisons website. Here is something that's interesting. In certain circumstances, such as when an inmate first enters prison or is transferred to a new prison, a visiting list might not exist yet. In this case, immediate family members who can be verified by the information contained in the inmate's pre-sentence investigation report may be allowed to visit. However, if there is little or no information available about a person, visiting may be denied. You should always call the prison ahead of time. Well, I can tell you, if you call the prison ahead of time, they're probably going to tell you don't visit if you're not on the list. And here, notice the operative word here is may be allowed to visit. It doesn't say you will automatically be allowed to visit. And you're going to have to, if you're going to want to try and visit somebody in prison and you're not yet on the list, you've got to be a good self-advocate. And that's one of the reasons I suggest that you learn the rules and you figure out, okay, what kind of maze am I going to have to navigate my way through? Make sure that you're dressed appropriately. Like, think of yourself going to church or someplace like that. If you're a woman, don't be too revealing. Don't bring anything with you. The best thing is to just come with just your driver's license and some cash or coins that you could use in the visiting rooms vending machines, because sometimes they offer those, and so you might want to bring about $20 in quarters or dollar bills that you could use in the vending machine. If you're a woman and you want to bring a purse, make sure it's just a clear bag, a clear plastic bag, and put your quarters and dollars in there and your driver's license and nothing else. That means no makeup, nothing else. If you have medication that you have to take, you just need to know you're not going into a family-friendly environment. You're going into an environment that they're going to be more concerned with the security of the institution than they are with preserving family ties. I hope that you have found some value in this information. I hope that you visit our work at Prison Professors, where we always are striving to give away as much information as we can to help people get the best possible experience. My name is Michael Santos, and we believe in you.